The party was held in the big lawn of Sophia and Daniel Okoye's house. Beautiful lights were hanging from the trees, and soft jazz music played in the background. It was their 6th wedding anniversary. Guests were dressed in fancy clothes, holding glasses of champagne, chatting and laughing. Everything looked perfect. Sophia stood beside Daniel, wearing a bright red dress that fit her perfectly. She looked happy and proud. Daniel raised his glass to toast her. Everyone smiled, thinking they were seeing a perfect couple. But then something changed. Daniel's smile disappeared. His eyes turned cold. He looked straight at Sophia and spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "You think I don't know why you married me?" he said. 6 years of pretending to love me while you waited to drain my accounts. Gold digger." The music stopped. The lawn went completely quiet. People turned their heads, eyes wide with shock. Sophia's face fell. Her smile vanished. She looked like she couldn't breathe. Some guests started whispering. A server near the drinks table dropped a glass. It hit the floor and broke with a loud crash. The sound felt like a knife cutting through the silence. Sophia didn't say a word. Her hands shook, and her mascara started running as tears filled her eyes. She looked at Daniel, hoping he would say it was a joke, but he just stood there, still and cold. Without saying anything, she turned and walked away. Her steps were unsteady. She rushed past the guests, through the open gate and out into the rain. Water soaked her hair and dress. She didn't stop. Then suddenly, snap, one of her expensive high heels broke. She stumbled and almost fell on the wet ground. Daniel didn't come after her. He just stayed there, in the middle of the party, watching. Before everything went wrong, Sophia was a strong and independent woman. She wasn't born rich. She didn't marry for money. In fact, she built her life step by step, working hard from a young age. She was the kind of woman who made things happen for herself. Sophia had always been smart and confident. She went to college on a scholarship, studied marketing, and got her first job at a small company right after graduation. She worked long hours, never complained, and slowly moved up. In just a few years, she became one of the youngest marketing executives at a growing firm. People respected her. She paid her own bills, bought her own apartment, and even sent money to her parents every month. Then one day, everything changed. She met Daniel Okoye at a business conference in Lagos. He was charming, smooth, and very successful. He was the CEO of a big tech company, and everyone seemed to know his name. Sophia wasn't impressed by the money or fame. She had met rich men before, but there was something about Daniel's smile, the way he listened to her speak, and the way he made her feel seen. They had coffee after the event, then dinner, then more dates. In just a few months, they were in love. At least, that's what Sophia believed. In the beginning, Daniel treated her like a queen. He sent flowers to her office, booked surprise weekend trips, and called her my smartest girl. When he proposed, he did it with a ring that sparkled like stars and said all the right words. She said yes. It felt like a fairy tale. But things began to change after the wedding. At first it was small. Daniel started making comments like, "Why do you have to work so late?" Or, "You don't need to stress over deadlines anymore. I make enough for both of us." Sophia laughed it off. She loved her job. She wasn't ready to be a housewife, but the pressure kept coming. "Why don't you take a break from work for a while?" he'd say. "Let's enjoy life. We're rich, baby." Sophia said no, again and again. But Daniel didn't give up. Every time she came home tired or missed a dinner party because of a project, he brought it up again. Slowly, she started to doubt herself. Maybe he was right. Maybe love meant making sacrifices. So, after a year of marriage, she quit her job. "I just want to support my husband and enjoy my life," she told friends. But inside, something felt off. She missed the rush of work, the feeling of being needed, the pride of earning her own money. Still, she tried to be happy. She filled her days with decorating their home, hosting lunches, and organizing charity events. She smiled for the cameras and kept her makeup perfect. She told herself she was lucky. Most women would kill to live in a mansion with a man like Daniel. But the cracks were starting to show. Daniel began controlling little things. He commented on what she wore. "That dress is too short. Red lipstick. That's not classy." He laughed when she bought new clothes and said things like, "Spending again, huh?" Even though he had given her the credit card, he started asking her to stay home more. "Why do you need to see your friends so often? They don't understand our world." Sophia noticed she was seeing less and less of her old life. She stopped calling her friends as often. Her phone barely rang anymore, except for her sister, Amara. Amara had always been close to her. She was sharp, bold, and never afraid to speak the truth. One afternoon, Sophia sat with her at a cafe, sipping coffee and pretending everything was fine. But Amara saw right through her. "Daniel's changing you," Amara said, stirring her drink slowly. "I barely recognize my sister any." Sophia forced a laugh. "I'm just adjusting. It's not a big deal." Amara leaned closer. "No, Sophia. He's gaslighting you. He's slowly breaking you down and making you think it's normal." Sophia's smile faded. She didn't want to believe it. She loved Daniel. Didn't all marriages have ups and downs? Then came the party. Daniel insisted on having a huge celebration for their 6th anniversary. Sophia didn't really feel up to it. He had been distant for weeks, barely speaking to her unless they were in public. But he pushed for it. "It'll show people we're still strong," he said. So she planned it all. Every flower, every light, every menu detail. She wanted it to be perfect. Maybe, she thought, if the night went well, things between them would get better. That morning, while getting things ready, she walked into Daniel's walk-in closet to grab a tie she had bought for him as a gift. She noticed a small white envelope on the table. Curious, she opened it. It was a receipt from a high-end jewelry store. A necklace, diamonds and emeralds. Price, $50,000. Sophia's heart skipped. She ran to her own jewelry drawer. Nothing new. The necklace wasn't there. Her hands shook as she sat down. Maybe he was hiding it for a surprise, but that didn't feel right. Daniel wasn't the type to hide gifts. He usually liked to show them off. All day, she couldn't stop thinking about the necklace. It stayed in the back of her mind while she got her hair done, while she gave orders to the decorators, even as she slipped into her red dress. She wanted to ask him about it, but the fear of the answer kept her quiet. The party started. Guests filled the lawn. Cameras flashed. Jazz played. Waiters walked around with glasses of champagne. Sophia smiled and smiled, but inside, she felt like she was standing on glass, and it could crack at any second. And it did. Daniel's cruel words in front of everyone didn't just hurt her. They broke something deep inside her. She had given up everything, her job, her friends, even her sense of self, to be the wife he wanted. And this was how he thanked her? By calling her a gold digger? The worst part wasn't even the insult. It was how calm and planned it all felt, like he had waited for the perfect moment to hurt her the most. That night, when she ran into the rain and her heel snapped, it wasn't just a shoe breaking. It was the moment she realized her marriage had been one long lie. And Daniel was not the man she thought he was. He never had been. A few days after the terrible party, the house felt quiet, almost too quiet. Sophia stayed in her room most of the time. She didn't want to see Daniel or speak to anyone, but she couldn't stay hidden forever. She forced herself to get up and move around the house. One morning, she decided to clean Daniel's home office. He always said it was her duty as a good wife to take care of the home, even though he barely let her touch anything in that room. It felt strange going in there alone, but she wanted to keep herself busy. She started dusting the shelves, picking up papers, and straightening his books. Then, she saw something that made her freeze. It was a phone, Daniel's second phone. He had always said it was for business only. He kept it hidden in a drawer, and Sophia had never touched it. But now, it was sitting out on the desk. As she reached to move a file, the screen lit up with a message. Sophia wasn't trying to snoop, but the message was right there, glowing in front of her eyes. "Miss you, Daddy. When's the divorce?" Attached was a selfie of a young woman. She looked about 22, with heavy makeup and a flirty smile. Sophia stared at the picture, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that face. The girl worked at Daniel's company, an intern. Sophia had met her once during a company dinner. She had been overly friendly to Daniel, but Sophia had thought nothing of it at the time. Now the truth hit her like a punch. Daniel wasn't just cold and distant, he was cheating. And not only that, he had been planning to leave her while making it look like she was the one who used him. Her hands shook as she picked up the phone and opened the rest of the messages. There were more photos, more flirty texts. Some of them were older, from months ago. One even mentioned a hotel. On the same weekend, Daniel told Sophia he was working late. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she kept going. She needed to know the whole truth. She left the office and went straight to her bedroom. Her heart felt like it was going to break all over again, but she turned on her laptop and opened the banking app. Their joint accounts popped up. She blinked, then looked again. The money was gone. Every account that had both their names on it was almost empty. Not just savings, but the main account too. Sophia felt sick. She checked the last few transactions, large transfers sent out one by one over the past few weeks. She hadn't noticed it before. Daniel handled the money. He always said things like, "Don't worry about it, babe. I've got it covered." She picked up the phone and called the law firm Daniel used for work. She pretended to be calm, saying she was just checking something for her husband. The assistant on the line sounded hesitant at first, but then confirmed it. Yes. Mr. Okoye filed for divorce 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks. That was before the party. Before he stood in front of everyone and called her a gold digger, he had already made his move. The party wasn't a surprise outburst. It was part of his plan. He wanted to embarrass her publicly. He wanted everyone to think she was the greedy wife who married for money. Meanwhile, he had been cheating, moving money, and preparing to kick her out of his life. Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, shaking. The room spun. She couldn't breathe. The betrayal felt too big, too cruel. Her whole life, her whole marriage, it had been a lie, a trap. She looked around the room, her eyes landing on a crystal vase on the table nearby. Without thinking, she grabbed it and threw it against the wall. The glass shattered loudly. Pieces flew across the floor. She fell to her knees, crying harder than she ever had before. It wasn't just sadness. It was rage. Anger at Daniel. Anger at herself for not seeing the signs. Anger at the world for believing his lies. But then, something shifted. In the middle of the tears, a quiet voice inside her said, "Enough." She wiped her face with the back of her hand. Her breathing slowed. She stood up. "No," she whispered to herself. "He doesn't get to win." She walked over to the mirror. Her eyes were red, and her face looked tight. But under all that pain, something new was rising. Something stronger. She wasn't going to be the helpless woman crying in a mansion. She wasn't going to let him destroy her life and walk away clean. Daniel thought he had everything under control, but Sophia wasn't done yet, not even close. Sophia couldn't stop thinking about the messages she saw on Daniel's second phone. The more she thought about it, the more angry and hurt she felt. She wanted answers. She needed to understand just how deep the betrayal went. Late one night, she picked up her phone and searched for the intern's name on Instagram. It didn't take long to find her profile. It was public, full of smiling selfies, designer clothes, and fancy locations. Sophia scrolled through the pictures slowly, her stomach turning. Then she saw it. A picture of the intern wearing a shiny diamond and emerald necklace. The same one from the receipt Sophia had found before the party. The necklace Daniel never gave her. The caption said, "Spoiled." There were more pictures. Another one showed her at a fancy restaurant, one that Sophia knew well. Daniel had taken her there a few times. But the worst part, the date on the photo. It was their anniversary night. While Sophia was getting ready for the party, excited and nervous, Daniel had been out having dinner with his mistress. It wasn't just cheating, it was cruel, cold, and calculated. Sophia stared at the screen, her hands trembling, but then her expression changed. The pain in her eyes turned to focus. She took screenshots. She needed proof. If Daniel wanted to play dirty, then so could she. She came up with a plan. The next morning, she acted calm. She wore a soft dress, did her hair, and even smiled a little when she saw Daniel in the kitchen. He looked surprised, but pleased. "You're up early." She nodded. "I've been thinking, maybe we shouldn't rush things. Maybe we can fix this." He raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "Yes," she said softly. "I still love you. Maybe I just got confused." Daniel stepped closer, smug. "Good girl. You finally understand your place." Sophia felt sick inside, but she smiled and nodded. Then she reached for her phone and hit record, keeping it hidden in her pocket. As they talked, she carefully led him into saying what she needed. She asked about the prenup. He laughed and said, "You'll get nothing. That contract is solid. Everyone already thinks you're a gold digger. I made sure of it." Sophia kept recording, her heart pounding. He kept going. "I planned this perfectly. You're just mad because I beat you at your own game." She wanted to scream, but she kept her face calm. Later, in her room, she saved the audio and backed it up to her computer. Then she called Amara. Amara listened quietly as Sophia told her everything. The phone, the messages, the Instagram pictures, and the recording. "I knew he was trash," Amara said, "but this is next level." They met the next day at a cafe. Amara brought her laptop. I started digging into his past, she said, and I found something. She pulled up an old file of emails, some from years ago. A few were between Daniel and his lawyer. One stood out. It was about his first wife. Sophia blinked. He was married before? Yes, Amara said. Briefly, she vanished after the divorce. No one talks about her. The email explained why. Daniel had done the same thing to his first wife. He made her quit her job. He isolated her. Then he accused her of using him, embarrassed her, and filed for divorce behind her back. Afterward, she signed a strict NDA, a legal agreement that said she couldn't speak about him or what happened in their marriage. Sophia's blood ran cold. He's been doing this for years. Amara nodded. You're not the first, but you can be the last. Sophia sat back in her chair, her mind spinning. Everything made sense now. The way he controlled her, the way he planned the party, the coldness in his eyes. It wasn't just a bad marriage. It was a pattern, a trap. But this time, he picked the wrong woman. This time, the woman had proof. This time, she had a sister who wouldn't stay silent. And this time, Daniel's tricks weren't going to work. Sophia looked at the sky through the cafe window. It was still cloudy, but she could feel something changing. She wasn't going to cry anymore. She was going to fight. Sophia sat on her bed late at night, unable to sleep. Her mind was full of thoughts. Daniel's betrayal, the messages from the intern, and the empty bank accounts. All of it kept spinning in her head. She needed to know more. She needed to see how deep this really went. She opened Instagram and searched for the intern's profile. It didn't take long to find her. The young woman loved to post everything: selfies, gifts, trips, and dinners. Her account was full of pictures and videos. Sophia slowly scrolled through them, her chest tight with anger. Then she saw something that made her heart stop. The intern was wearing the same necklace Sophia had seen on the receipt before the anniversary party, the one worth $50,000, the one Daniel had never given to her. It sparkled around the girl's neck in a close-up picture, and the caption said, "Feeling like a queen." Sophia took a deep breath and kept scrolling. Then she found something even worse. A photo of the intern at a fancy restaurant, laughing with a glass of wine in her hand. The location was tagged. Sophia knew that place. It was the same restaurant where Daniel had taken her for their last anniversary. She checked the date of the post. It was the same night as their anniversary party. So while she was at home, preparing for the big celebration, Daniel had taken another woman out. Her heart ached, but she forced herself to take screenshots of everything. She stared at her phone, breathing slowly. This wasn't just cheating. This was disrespect, humiliation, and all of it was planned. But Sophia didn't cry this time. She started to think. The next morning, Sophia dressed carefully. She wore a soft pink blouse and tied her hair neatly. She wanted to look peaceful, harmless, even sweet. She found Daniel in the living room, reading emails on his iPad. She walked up to him with a gentle smile. "Daniel, can we talk?" she asked. He looked at her, surprised. "Sure, I've been thinking," she said softly. "I know things have been hard, but maybe we shouldn't give up so fast. I still believe in us." Daniel raised his eyebrows and gave a small smirk. "Oh? Changed your mind now?" Sophia nodded slowly. "Maybe I just needed time. Maybe I made mistakes too." She sat down beside him. In her pocket, her phone was recording everything. Daniel chuckled. "Well, I have to say, I didn't expect this, but it doesn't change much. You're still getting nothing." She blinked. "What do you mean?" "The prenup," he said with a shrug. "It's solid. You leave with whatever you came with, which wasn't much." Sophia kept her voice calm. "But people might think badly of you." "Please," he scoffed. "I already made sure they think you're the gold digger. After that little party scene, everyone's on my side." She nodded slowly. "So, you planned it?" Daniel leaned back and smiled like a man who thought he had already won. "Of course. You think I'd let you ruin my name? I set the whole thing up. I made you look greedy. Now I don't owe you a dime." Sophia's stomach twisted, but she kept her face still. She had all she needed. That evening she sent the audio file to Amara, her sister. The next day they met at Amara's apartment. Amara had her laptop open and a folder full of files. She looked serious. "Okay, listen," she said. "I've been digging. I found something." Sophia leaned in. "What is it?" "You're not the first." Sophia frowned. "What?" "Daniel was married before," Amara said. "It was years ago. A very short marriage. No one talks about it." Sophia's eyes widened. "I had no idea. I found emails between him and his lawyer," Amara explained. "He did the same thing to her. Made her quit her job, cut her off from friends, then suddenly accused her of using him, embarrassed her publicly, and filed for divorce behind her back. Sophia felt her hands go cold. What happened to her? She signed an NDA, Amara said, a legal agreement that stopped her from speaking about anything. She just disappeared. Sophia sat back in shock. So he's done this before, to someone else. Amara nodded. Exactly. It's a pattern. You were next on the list. Sophia was quiet for a moment. Her thoughts were racing. But now, she wasn't scared. She wasn't confused. She was angry. Daniel had ruined one woman's life already, and now he thought he would do the same to her. But this time, he was wrong. She had the audio recording. She had the screenshots. And now, thanks to Amara, she had proof that this was a repeated plan, not just a broken marriage. He had fooled everyone for years. But Sophia wasn't going to stay silent, not like the first wife, not like the woman who had been forced to sign a paper and disappear. Sophia looked at her sister. Let's finish this, she said. Amara nodded. Let's bring him down. Sophia knew the time had come. She had the proof, and now she had the courage. With Amara's help, she sent the voice recording to a popular gossip blog known for exposing powerful people. She also sent the screenshots from the intern's Instagram and the story of Daniel's first wife. 2 days later, the internet exploded. Headlines appeared everywhere. CEO exposed, Daniel Okoye's gold digger lie, and secret recording proves wealthy husband framed wife. News outlets picked it up. People shared the story on social media. Everyone had something to say. Daniel tried to stay quiet, but the damage was done. His emails, the intern's photos, and his cruel words were now public. The world no longer saw him as a victim, but as a manipulator. A week later, there was a charity gala, a huge event with celebrities, business leaders, and media. Daniel was there, trying to smile, trying to look normal, but people whispered as he walked past. Then the room went quiet. Sophia walked in, wearing the same fitted red dress she had worn at their anniversary party, the night he humiliated her. Her head was high, her eyes full of fire. Everyone turned to look. Cameras flashed, murmurs spread. Daniel froze. She walked up to the stage calmly, took the mic, and looked at the crowd. 6 years ago, she said, I stood by a man who said he loved me. Then he called me a gold digger in front of the world. The room was silent. But isn't it funny, she continued, how gold diggers are always women. Women who were tricked into giving up their careers, their independence and their power, just to be later blamed for depending on the very men who asked them to. There were gasps, nods, even claps. In the corner of the room, Daniel's young intern stood up and rushed out crying. After that night, everything changed. Daniel's company called an emergency board meeting. The shareholders were angry. They said he brought shame to the company. A few days later, he was removed as CEO. The intern filed a lawsuit against him for harassment. More stories started to come out. Stories from women who had worked with him and faced similar behavior. But Sophia had one final move left. She filed a lawsuit too, not for money, but for financial abuse. She told the court how he cut her off from friends, forced her to quit her job, and controlled their money. Her strongest witness? His first wife. With her NDA broken by the court, she finally spoke out and confirmed everything. Daniel's pattern was exposed. Sophia didn't just get revenge, she got justice. The court ruled in Sophia's favor. The judge said the prenuptial agreement was no longer valid because Daniel had lied and acted in bad faith. Everything he had planned to protect himself now worked against him. Because of his actions, Sophia was legally allowed to take half of everything they owned. She didn't smile when the papers were signed. She felt calm, strong, and steady. The money wasn't the most important thing. It was the truth. It was the fact that Daniel no longer had power over her. Later, Sophia stood in front of a women's shelter with Amara. She handed over a check, part of her divorce settlement. The director hugged her with tears in her eyes. This will help so many women, she said. Sophia nodded. That's the goal. With the rest of her money, Sophia didn't buy anything flashy. Instead, she opened her own business, something she had dreamed of before she met Daniel. It was a consulting firm, but not an ordinary one. She wanted to help women who had been through pain, control, or divorce. Women who needed to rebuild their lives and careers. Her company gave workshops, one-on-one coaching, and legal referrals. She helped women open bank accounts in their own names. She taught them how to spot red flags, She gave them the tools to never fall into the same trap she did. Amara joined her as a partner. They worked, side by side, stronger than ever. Every time they helped a woman get back on her feet, they felt like they were winning. Sophia became a quiet symbol of strength in her community. People started calling her for interviews, asking her to speak at events. She didn't talk about Daniel directly, but her message was clear. Women have the right to choose their path, to keep their independence, and to be respected. One evening, Sophia was home in her cozy apartment. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, flipping through channels. Then she paused. On the screen was a talk show, and sitting across from the host was Daniel's ex-intern. The girl looked nervous but determined. "He told me I was special," she said. "But he lied to me too. He told me he'd leave his wife. He told me I'd be different, but he used me." The host leaned in. "And what do you want people to know?" The intern looked into the camera. "That women like Sophia aren't gold diggers. They're survivors. He tried to break her, but she stood up. And now, I want to stand up too." Sophia watched in silence, then gave a small smile. She didn't need to say anything. The world was seeing the truth, one voice at a time. Later that night, someone sent her a photo. It was Daniel. He was sitting alone in a dark bar, unshaven, looking tired and lost. No spotlight, no power, no supporters. Just a man who lost everything because of his lies. Sophia stared at the photo for a moment, then put her phone down. She didn't feel pity. She didn't feel joy. She just felt free. Sophia sat on her new balcony, wrapped in a soft sweater, holding a glass of wine. The evening was calm, and the city lights sparkled in the distance. It was quiet, peaceful. She finally had space to breathe, to think, to simply exist without fear or pressure. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up and read the message from one of her clients. "You inspired me to leave my husband. Thank you. I didn't think I was strong enough, but now I know I am." Sophia read it slowly, her eyes filling with tears. Not from pain this time, but from pride and warmth. She smiled, wiping her cheek gently. Next to her, her laptop sat open on the small table. On the screen, a document she had been working on showed its title in bold letters. "How to Spot a Predator Before He Calls You a Gold Digger." She looked at the words for a few seconds, then started typing again. Each word came easily now. She wasn't writing to fight back anymore. She was writing to help others rise, to give them the strength she had found in herself. A soft breeze touched her face, and she leaned back in her chair. There was no noise, no tension, no shadows left behind her. Just peace, just truth, just freedom. The night deepened around her, warm and quiet, as she smiled into the silence.